See, when the Supreme Court MAGA majority goes too far, it provides a gift and dividends to the Democrats. And that's what just happened today with the United States Supreme Court MAGA right-wing majority in one paragraph, presumably throwing away a 90-year precedent that had been used to protect commissions and agencies from becoming caught up in political wins, to be filled with political hacks, to let a new president replace everybody on the National Labor Relations Board, the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, all those regulatory entities that are trying to protect Americans, protect consumers, protect investors. Well, the Supreme Court in one paragraph today said they are going to overturn Humphrey's executor. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We're going to stop wringing our hands about we're winning below, but we lose on the emergency docket. Yes, but sometimes that blows up spectacularly in Donald Trump's face. And I think this one will. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. Let me tell you what happened and why, and then I'm going to tell you why it's not bad. It's not even a silver lining. I see it as a gift. What the Supreme Court just declared effectively in one paragraph, what they just declared is that Donald Trump or any future president can throw out of office any commissioner, any agency board member for any of the commissions or agencies that the Congress has created. So if they create an agency, even if Congress wanted the agency to be bipartisan, nonpartisan, with staggered terms and a for-cause termination cover or prophylactic over the whole thing to keep the president's power in check, and to stop him from packing these commissions and agencies with his buddies and cronies, even that's the reason, the very rationale for the creation by Congress of that executive branch, that executive agency or commission, the president can fire at will and pack it with whoever he likes and totally disregard the will of Congress. In other words, completely overturning the relationship between the presidency and the Congress. All right, you want that, Supreme Court? You got it. What does it mean for the future? This is a case, Donald Trump versus Rebecca Slaughter. Rebecca Slaughter was the only Democratic member, if you can believe it, on the Federal Trade Commission, regulating business practices, stopping Ponzi schemes from taking people's money, stopping violations of internet scams and schemes, that regulator. But for the Supreme Court, apparently it exercises too much executive power, even though the Congress gave birth to it. And so we got to let the president fire at will. Okay, let's fast forward here. Then I'm going to read to you from Justice Kagan's dissent, which I think puts this in stark relief. All right, what's going to happen in the future? Donald Trump will not be president for all eternity. If he makes it to the midterms, I'm going to be shocked. Certainly, he's going to be replaced in 2028. At the rate he's going, with the poll numbers in the trash, the economy in the trash, people's confidence about him in the trash, his handling of crises and scandals, the public is getting sick and tired of. Poll numbers are terrible, and he's not going to grow a brain or morality or ethics between now and the midterms or in 4 years. He's gone. He's gone. Even Ted Cruz is worried that when he goes, all the precedent that's been established right behind him to benefit him for his grab on power is going to be used against the Republicans when, as Ted Cruz puts it, the Democrats get back into power. So think about that world for a minute. It's not that far away. We're a year away or so from the midterms. All of a sudden, people are running, declaring in 2026, running in 2027, and now we've got a new president in 2028. Goes quickly. Think about where you were on the last Olympics. They're already getting ready for the new one. Now, we have this tool. Supreme Court just got rid of Humphrey's executor, a case from 1935, directly on point. We call it on all fours. Humphreys was a Federal Trade Commission commissioner. The president at the time was not of his party. It was FDR. He was a holdover from, I think, Warren or Harding, one of them. Warren Harding. FDR wanted to get rid of Humphreys, fires him. Humphreys sues, gets his job back. The Supreme Court says you cannot, for the FTC or anything like it, fire unless you have cause to do so, and reinstated Humphreys. That should be Rebecca Slaughter. She should be Humphreys. But they just got rid of it on an emergency docket without even full briefing. Sure, they say come back in December. We're going to hold a whole oral argument about it. That's a performative art piece. That's kabuki theater. They've already decided. They've got the votes to rip down Humphrey's executor and overturn it now. Good, we'll take it. Now, let's think about 2028. Fill in the blank for your favorite leading Democratic presidential candidate is elected president. What do? They go look at the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Labor Relations Board, the Merit Systems Protection Board, and they pump it stock-filled with Democrats. Okay? Goose gander problem, right? It's good for the goose, is good for the gander. Relying on these same things, we take control, we take command, and therefore we are in charge of every agency and every commission. Bipartisan, schmipartisan. No more bipartisan anything. Now, I'm not saying this is great for the country. I like the way that old-timey Congress handled things. Let's have a couple of nonpartisan panels and groups where we all get along and become agnostic and put aside our political differences and just do something right for the American people. But if that's been destroyed, which it now has been as of today, that's been destroyed by the United States Supreme Court, then we have to play by the new rules. By playing by the new rules, we bring in all of our people to head up all these commissions. We throw all the Republicans out. We throw all the bastards out. We run them out on a rail, and we take over complete and utter control, right? The 5 fingers and a thumb form a fist, and we are in control. I know Democrats sometimes get a little squeamish with that. We like hand-wringing. We like cogitating. We like being a little bit nervous. We like having a little bit of, there's a Yiddish word for it, a little bit of spilkus. Forget it. We got to learn how to run a country in the new world order created by Donald Trump and his pets, the United States Supreme Court. So this is one where it backfires. And all these civil servants, all these MAGA people have been packed into whatever is remaining of each department, each cabinet level position. All of them. We just flush the toilet and get them all out. Nobody holdovers. Nobody stays over. No secret MAGA. Nobody. No Charlie Kirk supporting person stays in government. Complete takeover of government by the party that wins the presidency. That's it. And we have to play the cards that we are dealt. And one of the things I want to stop doing here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF is the first knee-jerk reaction is, oh, here we go again. We win at the lower court level. But now we go on the emergency docket to the United States Supreme Court where Donald Trump wins 84% of the time. Popok, this is terrible. Okay, we're reporting it, but you can't always look at it as terrible. You have to look at it as a gift, one that we should not and cannot return. Yeah? Every one of these cases, given the president unlimited, unbridled power, raw power, with very few limits, as provided by this United States Supreme Court, works for the next president just as well. Again, fill in the blank. Use your magical thinking time. Fill in your favorite presidential candidate. Imagine that person as president, now wielding the reshaped presidency created by the United States Supreme Court. Awesome, isn't it? Awesome. It's not what the framers wanted. It's not what the founders wanted. It's not what Congress from bygone days wanted. But it is what it is. Just as I've said, COVID changed the face of culture and the social contract. It was like the meteor hitting the earth and sending us into the ice age. Things have changed, right? in many ways, our mores, our norms, what you were willing to do or say to your neighbor has changed. I got a neighbor that recently did something to our family. They would have been shunned and ostracized and run out on a rail by the community had that become public. The fact that they even thought to do that is a reflection of how far we have fallen in terms of love thy neighbor and respect thy neighbor. But we can't just sit up on a mountaintop and complain about it. We got to use it as a tool. Let me read to you from the United States Supreme Court ruling that just came out today. Won't take long. Like all the other emergency applications, this one is a paragraph. It's actually less. It's 3 lines. The application for the stay presented to the Chief Justice and by him referred to the court is granted. Translation? Well, 2 weeks ago, I reported that the Chief Justice temporarily administratively stayed the case, meaning he had the votes to overturn Humphrey's executor. I said then it was going to be overturned. Now it's going to the full 9. They've gotten at least 6-3 to throw away Humphrey's executor. Sure, they're saying, we're going to do a briefing schedule on this issue, whether the statutory removal protections for members of the Federal Trade Commission violate the separation of powers, and if so, whether Humphrey's executor from 1935 should be overruled. Really? Surprise? That's what you're deciding? We knew you decided that, and that you've already decided it in the negative. And then whether federal courts have the power even to interfere with. This is the scariest part of the order, whether a federal court may even prevent a removal from public office in law or in equity. So in other words, they're saying here, they're now going to clip the wings of federal courts to provide oversight over the firing of anybody in the executive branch. Well, my superpowers and turbocharged powers for the next Democratic president just increased tenfold on that one. Here's what Kagan had to say. That was the entire order, by the way. So the president cannot, as he conceitedly did here, fire an FTC commissioner without any reason. To reach a different result, Justice Kagan says, requires reversing the rule stated in Humphreys. It entails overriding rather than accepting Congress's judgment about agency design. The majority may be raring to take that action, but until the deed is done, Humphreys controls. It's still on the books. You can't get rid of it with a 3-line emergency application stay order. But until the deed is done, Humphreys controls and prevents the majority from giving the president the unlimited removal power Congress denied him. Because our emergency docket should never be used as it has been this year. This is the backdoor way in on short briefing, short track, short circuit, with the complicity of the MAGA majority to come back in with an emergency application without proper deliberation or even an oral argument. Our emergency docket should never be used as it has this year to permit what our precedent bars. Still more, it should not be used as it also has been to transfer government authority from Congress to the president and thus reshape the nation's separation of powers. In 3 lines. Last week, I reported on the 4th Amendment of the Constitution effectively being thrown in the trash in a 1-paragraph decision on an emergency docket. And that's what she's lamenting against. But now it's time to use it. For good, as Democrats will. But this is one, I believe, they've gone too far. And this overturning of Humphrey's executor, which is all but done, we'll wait around for December for the filings and the briefing. We'll report on them and the oral argument. But it's done. Humphrey's executor is done. The new rule is any president, regardless of political stripe, can fire everybody in sight, and replace them with their own political party people who are going to do their bidding for the next 4 or 8 years. And that's the new law. Except for the Federal Reserve. And I'll continue to follow what happens with Lisa Cook, because that's the only place the Supreme Court was like, don't F with our stock market and our 401ks. We need to put a fence around the Federal Reserve. That one's for cause. We won't tell you what for cause is yet, but it's for cause. We'll come back to you. And I'll come back to you. You're here on MeidasTouch and Legal AF. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button here on Legal AF YouTube channel and on Legal AF Substack, where I've posted this order for your review. Become a full-time card-carrying member of Legal AF in that way. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.